Welcome to the ArtsyAF podcast. That's what we're called still, right?
Yeah. This week's episode is with Aaron Holsapple, a.k.a.
Cualli. Aaron's a good friend. I've known him for like 4 or 5 years, and he just had a kid. I don't even know if we really dive too deep into that, but we talk about Burning Man.
Music production.
Yeah, music production. His studio that we recorded this podcast in is just immaculate. The sound is, from what I hear, is amazing.
It might be the best sounding interview we've ever done.
Or we'll ever do. Unless we do more interviews there.
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah, so enjoy it while you can, folks, because no better sound quality than that. Also, we've added a way that you can support the podcast. If you go to the show description on iTunes or Spotify, at the end of the description, there'll be a link that will take you to a website where you can make a monthly donation if you're feeling it.
Or you can go to ArtsyAFpodcast.com and there's a support the podcast link on the homepage.
It helps us out tremendously, and we're trying to expand. So we thank you guys for all your support. Over Indian. My dump in Aaron's probably deflected a few rounds.
Did you get any splash from it?
0 splash.
Nice, that's great.
Yeah. Aaron,
congratulations.
I guess
splash.
I guess could we we could start the podcast off by asking you why you have a porta potty outside your studio. I think I know. I have a good idea. Can I guess?
Yeah.
It's so that when you're working late at night and you have to take a shit, you don't have to go up to the house and wake up your baby. Is that why?
No, it's because there's construction happening around
my
the
second
house.
Guess wasn't going to be that either.
What was your second?
That you stole it from Burning Man. But
no, there would be dust all over it and stuff written on it.
Well, it's kind of dirty.
Different things that you could go do. People always post like the little piece of paper with like
come to 3 and C.
Yeah.
And check us out.
Totally. We got free booze. Or maybe a female funnel.
Female funnel? What is that? Oh, gotcha.
So you can pee.
Yeah. It's a little.
So you can pee standing up?
If you're a lady, yeah.
No. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Totally.
What will they think of next? So, yeah, you went to Burning Man, and you said it sucked, right?
It was, terrible.
Yeah.
Way better next year.
And I heard all the past ones were way better, too.
No.
Like less...
No, those all suck, too.
Well, yeah, but I heard that, there were just, like, less posers.
Previously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, now that we got that out of the way.
Yeah. It was the most commercial it's ever been this year, I think, too.
Ooh.
I heard it was sponsored by Budweiser, right? This year?
Yeah. Yeah. Budweiser and Porsche.
And Camel cigarettes.
Yeah, my buddy Chris
Texaco
came in and like at the gates and had like a Porsche jacket and hat on and was asking them if they could personally escort him to Porsche camp. That was his art piece for the burn.
Way to go, Chris. Nice.
Chris B. Shout out Chris B.
Chris B.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mansion.
Yeah.
He
Does he have a mansion?
Make Glitch Hop. He makes house music now.
Oh, okay. Under the name Mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah, bust a beat, dude.
That was it.
Let's hear. Okay. It's going straight to number one.
All right, hold the podcast. We got to record something.
So, I mean, where we are is worth mentioning.
Yeah.
We're in Aaron's home studio.
Yeah, what the hail is what this is called.
Oh, yeah? Oh, what the hail?
Yeah, what the hail. So the it's a barn, and the walls of it, it used to be a freezer up at NCAR.
Cool.
And for those of you who don't know what NCAR is, it's the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder.
Yeah.
And the gentleman that used to live here and built this place worked there. And when they were getting rid of the this lab for studying hail, which was a freezer, more or less, he took the walls of it and brought it here. The walls and the door. So the door is also it's like a walk-in freezer door.
Yeah, I was gonna say something about that door walking in.
Yeah, it's a weird door. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always reminds me of the like working in the food industry.
Yeah.
Like in the dorm cafeteria and Einstein's.
Going in and having to get that frozen dough.
Yep.
You know, and just prep it.
Yep. Put some pizza sauce on there, some cheese.
Yeah.
Fold the crust.
Yeah. Calzones. That was like a little riddle for those of you listening at home.
Yeah. So built this place last summer and have been in here working ever since. And yeah, for you guys, it's very quiet and weird. For me, it sounds normal and nice.
Yeah, it is. It's like, I don't know, for anyone who's not a seasoned producer or music person, I'd say being in this room is kind of trippy at first because every noise you make just kind of like whatever it hits first, it stops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't get those
much.
reflections.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have some things to make it so you do get a little bit of reflections, but...
Yeah, you've got like a wooden beam.
And the idea with that is that our brains really get... there's something subconsciously always looking for spatial cues when you're in a room.
Mm-hmm.
Or just wherever. You know, like moving around, like the chair creaks a little bit, or like tap your foot, or just any kind of noise. Like our brain is expecting to hear the initial sound and then also the sound of a reflection or something like that.
Yeah.
Or if you're outside, you're just going to be hearing outside sounds and you won't be getting those reflections. But if you're in a room and you're not hearing those, then there's something in the brain that's always like, where am I? Where am I? Where am I?
Mm-hmm.
Where am I? Where am I?
Mm-hmm.
Which can kind of drive you a little bit nuts. So.
And even just like the silence between words. It's like if you have a little bit of discomfort with like silence in conversation,
right?
As soon as there's a 2 second drop in the conversation, you're like, oh,
you're like, oh God, we're drowning.
Just like hum. Nobody say anything.
So it's like, I mean, very basic understanding, but you want a room as quiet as possible to produce music in, so you can hear it as clearly as possible.
Well, so the idea is to have a room as flat as possible. And by flat, I mean keeping the frequency spectrum as close to the original source as possible. So like speakers will color the sound a little bit. They'll boost some frequencies and cut out some. But most speakers or at least like good studio monitors are relatively flat.
Mm-hmm.
But then the idea is to get your room so that it's as flat as possible as well. so that when you're mixing, you don't have certain sounds, certain frequency spectrum that's like way louder. So then you turn it down in the mix and then play it somewhere else, and that sounds like really quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So, you do all your mixing here?
Yep.
Yeah, and obviously I'm just kind of like throwing out elementary questions, but do you master your stuff also, or do you send that to someone else?
Yeah, I've always done my own mastering ever since like the beginning, I guess. Like Chris Cox mastered my first album, and then I actually like linked up with him, and he showed me some stuff and decided that I just wanted to do it. And like all my masters like sucked at first. Like I always had like a decent ear for mixing, but like getting the masters right took a while to kind of develop that. And even now at this point, it's mostly the mastering is mostly mixing.
Yeah.
Because like with the mastering, I'm mostly just using a limiter, and the way that works well is just to get the mix as good as possible and then run it through the limiter.
Mm-hmm. So you set yourself up for success in the mix, and then the master is, I mean, I don't know, but is easier or
yeah, exactly.
easy.
And that's the advantage of when you're doing your own mastering, you can go back into the project easily and fix something.
Nice.
As opposed to a mastering engineer, like ideally they don't have to fix something in the mix, but when they do, like they're going to be using tools that it's going to be way less ideal than actually going and just fixing the source.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know much about music production at all, but so you like, as you make your songs, you mix them to sound well, but then it's just like a final finishing procedure to make it all sound as good as possible and coherent over an album, or?
Yep. Yeah, it's so my process is more or less like making the song, like mixing it as I go along. Like sound choice is a big part of getting a good mix too in music production. Like if there's just certain sounds that they might sound cool, but like in the mix, maybe it's just not working with the other stuff. It's not working. Like just having sounds that sound good in the first place. It's like mixing's, you try and polish a turd. Like you're not just going to make it sound good all of a sudden. So,
right. So that's, I guess, just over experience too. You just, from the ground up, it sounds good because you.
Yeah. So then with the mastering thing, it's like building it well from the ground up is what makes the final product way better. Mm-hmm. It's like the mastering kind of thing that I do and that a lot of my peers do is not as much of like a mastering engineering thing as like, the dudes that were like mastering Michael Jackson or Led Zeppelin or something like that. Because a lot of what we're doing is just trying to make the initial thing sound as good as possible, and then not even applying that many like effects or processing at the very end of it. And what a limiter does is just like it just brick wall cuts off the signal at a certain point. So any peaks above a certain level are just going to get just chopped.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a deletion style. Like it's like cropping a photo or something like that. I'm trying to get an analogy going in my head.
Yeah, I guess.
Do you lose a little bit of fidelity, I guess?
Well,
if your mix is not right.
You lose what is called dynamic range.
Okay.
So, like a lot of times a snare will be the loudest thing in a mix. Mm-hmm. And the ability, so with the audio signal, what you're doing is you're moving a speaker back and forth. Like when the speaker's off, it's just in the middle at resting point. Mm-hmm. And with the dynamic range being cut off, it means that like a snare is going to sound a little more flat because it doesn't have the ability to move as much. So you get like less punch with it.
Okay.
And that's going to be in relation to everything else. So if everything else in the mix is turned down, then you'll still turn up the music pretty loud and you can have that punchy snare. But if everything in the mix is turned up pretty loud, then it makes it much more harder to get the snare to punch through. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm trying to think about the limiter thing in relation to cropping, and it's kind of like cropping in that stuff that was on the edges is being totally cut out,
Mhm.
and that's a similar thing. But it's not it with the cropping of photo. It's like you're actually missing big pieces of it. Whereas with audio, it's still more or less going to sound the same.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to start getting distortion and stuff like that. But it's like if there was a flower in the picture up in the top left corner, it's like that's still going to be there, like after the limiter in audio. Whereas with cropping on a photo, it's not going to be.
Okay. Cool.
But the idea with mastering is to get things sounding even throughout like an album or something like that,
Right.
or throughout like a show. Yeah, we're also getting things like to a certain like industry standard for loudness and
Sure.
levels in a mix.
Sweet.
So then you can just play it in any mix, anywhere, anytime, and it doesn't sound like
Yeah, it doesn't
loud
sound
or like quiet and strange.
super quiet, or the mix shouldn't sound wonky or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like other DJs could mix the tune into a set and not have any problems with it.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been producing electronic music?
Well, so I got a laptop in 2006 when I went to college, and I started messing around with GarageBand, and then like later that year, my buddy gave me a copy of Live.
Right on. Were you playing musical instruments before that?
Yeah. Yeah, I played in a band. We played like punk rock and metal music.
Mhm.
And then by the time I got the computer into college, I was more into like jam band kind of stuff, or and then like String Cheese and STS9 and Bass Nectar kind of what got me into electronic music at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I got really into doing stuff with Ableton, but I didn't really get a focus on it until I was done with college in like 2010. And then I've just more or less focused on it since then.
Right on. Yeah, and you've developed such a crazy, unique sound. I remember the first time I heard your music, I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I think that's cool. Like, creating like standout sounds. A lot of it can sometimes melt together, right?
Mhm.
And what do you attribute that to? To like finding these crazy, unique sounds. Do you have like a unique approach? Are you shooting for something? Like, how do you find these things?
I think usually with sound design, like you try and like learn stuff on the internet, but then also a lot of it's just kind of like luck and like turning some knobs and stuff like that until you find something that's cool.
Yeah.
And then figuring out some way to contextualize that into a song, and because it can sound cool, but like getting it to actually like work in a song is a different thing too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, in my limited experience with making electronic music, I'll like hone in and create one thing that sounds cool and then try to put it into a song, and you're just like, I think I'm gonna make a painting now.
Yeah. It's kind of the same thing with a painting. Sometimes you can get too focused on the details and lose the overall picture.
Right. Or you got one thing that's super tight in the painting, and then the rest of it
It's just like muddy garbage.
you're like, all right, I'm going back to making music.
Do you have like a specific mission with why you're making music? Do you feel like a calling or a purpose? Or does it go deeper than just, I want to make some dope sounding shit and let people dance?
Yeah, I mean, it's been like following breadcrumbs for the past however many years, more or less. And like, I don't necessarily have like a big like mantra or purpose for like why I'm doing it, and why I've been doing it has like changed over the years. But a lot of it has to do with psychedelic experience and just feeling inspired to do it, and trying to share that sort of feeling and inspiration with other people.
Yeah.
And just like a lot of it's just a feeling that I like needed to do it, like have to do it, and that's just what it is,
It's your way of kind of sharing your experiences with the world and throwing it into the mix.
Yeah, and I'd like for it not to be particularly. The thing about music is that it's music and it's not words,
Yeah.
So it's like I would much rather it be. It's like same thing with like art pieces and stuff like that. It's like the over analyzing or over over, this is what this piece is about. And I feel like in the art world, it's like particularly popular these days. It's like something just, it's a red brick or whatever, and then but
there's like pages on what it actually means,
right? And because of the like academia of it or whatever, like looking at it from this particular critical lens, like the artist like comes up with this this intellectual thing about how it's so and that's because and then people are like, oh yes, they're like, this is high art now.
Yeah.
It's like, but that's not, to me, that I don't care about any of that. Like, if it's a visual thing, I mean, that in itself is a cool thing. Like I do like an analysis and things like that,
like
but
literary style.
Yeah, right. Like I went to school for that, so it's like
sure.
that's cool. But as far as like art, painting, like I personally just want to see a cool looking painting. Like I want it to move me. I want it to. I don't want somebody to have to explain to me why it's cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like the direct experience of whatever art form you're imbibing at the time.
Yeah, and I would like that to be the same thing with the music too, and that's part of why I even do the music, is because it's not. You can say things and express feelings and energy and stuff like that that I can't put into words.
Totally. Yeah. I think that's definitely part of the reason I make art too. It's like a lot of this stuff you're just adrift in some wordless universe, and all you've got are images and sounds.
Now, you're like you're a visual artist as well. I mean, I know you took one of my paintings and created a crazy fucking music video along to your art.
Yeah, the visual artist might be a stretch, but it's like
you're a 3D like.
Yeah, I got it in me, I think.
Digital
like,
artist, yeah.
Cause like definitely like in high school and when I like had to take painting classes and stuff or art classes, like that was always my favorite classes in school, was doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then when I started doing music, that really became the focus, and I really felt like I didn't want to spread myself too thin with anything, just really wanted to like focus on one particular thing.
Yeah,
totally.
You kind of have to.
But with the music, like I've had some troubles with my ears and like just general like burnout kind of stuff. So like when I feel that sort of thing, it's been really nice to like have another artistic like creative outlet to go into. So I've been doing stuff with like video, making music videos, and
then it enhances your music too, because you get this whole.
Right, it's almost like learning another language.
Yeah.
People say learn another language is like really good for your brain. Like start developing new connections and stuff like that.
Yeah. And how did you create that music video? We'll put like a link for it in the show notes so people can check it out.
So I took your original painting, which is freaking dope, Calibration Station. Super cool painting, and I guess like cropped a lot of it in After Effects. And then used a few different plugins, but just all in After Effects, like, made it like move around. And a lot of that was like, would be similar to the sound design thing too, just like applying different things, like connecting different things in the program to see like what looks cool, and then taking the snippets of the things that look cool and actually like flow well, and then trying to make something more generally cohesive and on like a longer scale with all of that too.
Yeah, I mean, it was so intense and complex. Like, did you you edited it to the music? Like what the fuck? How do you? I mean, like, could you?
Well, it's really similar to producing music. So like in music, when I'm producing a song, it's going along they call it an arrangement view, or like timeline. In Ableton they call it arrangement view, but it's more or less a timeline, and along the timeline you have different things happen at different times. So like, with the song, you got kick happens here, snare happens here, and then you can automate certain parameters and whatnot. And it's the same thing with the video. So it's like I can have this part of the painting that I've cropped out. It's like it only happens for this section, and then I have it fade in, fade out, like have the different parameters on effects, like go up and down, stuff like that.
So it like reacts to the music?
Well, there are certain effects in that video that do react to the music, and After Effects will like take the audio and then plot it over, like using the amplitude is what I use. So like how loud the audio signal is, and then you can just apply that to any given effect in After Effects.
Okay.
So I had it for some of like the little like tile things. I'll have it affecting like the scale and position of it. So like the things that are like coming off the side of the eye, like they'll like pop up when the audio is louder and then go back in when it's quieter.
Okay.
And then having it do that on a delay so that it's not, the whole thing isn't popping out, because there's a bunch of little square things, just having them so then you can kind of see like a wave of it coming off. But that was like the only audio reactive thing. The other things I would just with the automation, like make it start right here because something's happening in the music, and then end over here because something's happening in the music.
Right on. Yeah, it turned out crazy, and you said it took like a month to render the final.
Yeah,
final
man.
Video.
It took like a month to make it, and then it was over a month to render it.
Yeah.
Actually, like
you've got a nice computer too. I mean,
yeah, I went and upgraded the computer like in the middle of rendering it. It's like,
got a whole
the only
new
reason
computer.
I went and did that because it was the 4K 60 frames a second, which is like over the top, unnecessary with our
It makes
the
it look
current technology.
like it looks crazy though.
If you have a device that is capable of 4K and 60 frames a second, it's like
it's so clear, like
really cool.
yeah, yeah,
Which I do. So like I mostly did it for myself at this point.
yeah.
But
soon enough,
Yeah.
that'll be widespread technology.
a little bit more future proof, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny then, like after that came out, Andrew and I were painting at that show you played with Bartow Moonfrog at your mom's house. And that guy came up to me, he's like, dude, that music video, I've blasted off like 20 times to it. I'm like, oh my God. It's
20.
so crazy. Like just
Nice.
not knowing how people are, what they're doing with the art once it's in the world.
Right.
And it looks like
out of your hands now.
a DMT trip, kind of. Like it looks like one of those little, I don't know, obviously everyone's experience is probably different, but it looks kind of like one of those rooms that you kind of pop into, or one of those spaces that you find yourself in that it's just like laced with geometric patterns, and kind of like zooming into this perspective thing. And
with the combination of the music, it's like,
it's pretty
wild.
nice. So go check out that link that we're going to put in the show notes.
Yeah. This is like, you guys got like the Joe Rogan thing, right?
Yeah.
Start asking the guests about if they've ever smoked DMT.
Have you smoked DMT? Bro, have you ever tried DMT in a float tank?
Do you swing kettlebells?
But yeah, I mean, DMT is definitely a big part of the music for me.
Sure.
Like ayahuasca in particular was like really,
Yeah.
Ayahuasca in the jungle, and like a lot of, I don't even necessarily want to call it auditory hallucination stuff, but like hearing all the bugs and birds and things like that, like do their thing. And then that in conjunction with my brain and the ayahuasca or whatever, and my sensory, there's just, there are a lot of really cool things that happened that I'm like, yeah, that would be really sick to actually to be able to share that experience like through audio or whatever.
Sure.
And it's a great thing because you'd never be able to do it. I'll never be able to actually get it. So it's like, there's a carrot dangling in front of my in front of my face for all eternity, trying to actually.
Do you think we'll ever get there? Do you think we'll ever have technology where we can actually see inside each other's experience perceptually?
Yeah. Have you seen The Dark Crystal?
Is that you?
It? Yeah. What are they like?
Oh yeah. Totally.
Dream fast with me.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the technology's already there.
All right, Jim Henson ahead of his time once again.
I think that's a beautiful thing about creativity, though. You know, you have like a really impactful experience in this interesting environment, then you do your best to recreate a glimpse of that experience you had. And then whenever people listen to your music or you play it for people, they get like a little hit of that experience that you had. Like you do get to impart this little piece of nugget of wisdom
Yeah,
that you
absolutely.
experience in that space, and it gets shared, you know. And it's fascinating to me what will be the result, or what is it doing with everybody having these really impactful, beautiful experiences, and everybody's kind of chipping away at trying to represent these little pieces of it. Like over time, will we just live inside of a psychedelic experience? You know, it's like there's no use for the psychedelic anymore because we've like created a
world where
we've collectively created from being influenced by it, that there's no difference in those states.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we already are living in a...
Well, no, we haven't hit that. We haven't hit that. Not what he's describing.
Oh.
Like the like. I mean, maybe
No,
you are.
Tell me more.
Maybe you are.
No.
I just said, I didn't say no.
No. Aaron said no.
John's
He
talking
said,
about like the turbo level up. Like everybody's been like maxed out, leveled up by everybody's creativity to the point where psychedelics don't do anything anymore.
It's like a solid state creative world that we've built where you go from every place is like Meow Wolf, including nature.
Yeah.
Every room you open is a trapdoor into someone's psychedelic dream or nightmare, hopefully dream.
Yeah.
Okay. You're right. No, we're not there yet. We're
Definitely not. No, the ads is mostly ad.
It's
world.
mostly ads, yeah. We're mostly living in an ad.
Yeah, we live in a giant commercial.
Speaking of which,
You got
we want to thank our sponsor. Just kidding.
Rowdy Mermaid.
Yeah. Well,
Budweiser.
yeah, Budweiser and Porsche. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast.
If anybody actually works for Budweiser,
You know,
No.
Actually, if you use code ArtsyAF when you buy a Porsche, you get a free pair of driving gloves.
Yeah. And you also get a bumper sticker that says Rube. Anyway. Yeah, so you've been down to the jungle several times to partake in ayahuasca ceremonies.
yeah,
Yeah. And so that's a huge influence on your music, or?
yeah, massive, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some of my favorite memories for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, just the way the jungle like interacts with all of that. It's just like something else, man.
Yeah.
all of that nature, just like all that green stuff, all the birds and the fauna and the flora, just everything synergistically, playing with you in that space.
Mm-hmm.
Like having the open perception and faculties to be able to like just have a greater appreciation of that, more appreciation of it.
Mm-hmm. Did it change you a lot after the first time you did it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know myself before that or after, really. Or
Okay.
or it's hard to get like a third person perspective. Is what I mean. Like, I would say that I was changed, but as far as like, for better or for worse, like a lot of it's, it's up in the air.
Mhm.
I don't know that I'm not like necessarily like everybody needs to do psychedelics to make you a better person kind of dude. But,
Sure.
But I am like psychedelics can greatly expand like general appreciation and perception of particularly nature, but just life in general,
Yeah.
And because it's such like a dualistic reality we're in, it's like, you open yourself up to a lot of things. So it's like
Sure,
usually
yeah.
it's like if you're a douchebag, you like do some ayahuasca, you're probably still going to be a douchebag.
Yeah. Depends, yeah. Because it's more like, it's more about like where is your attention in general, and it's like if you take a psychedelic to be humbled, it will probably humble you. But
Yeah.
if you're a douchebag and you take a psychedelic, you're probably just a
To me,
douchebag
though,
getting high. I don't know.
it doesn't ever like generally I can have whatever intentions with it, but like in a lot of ways that's always seemed kind of arrogant to me, and like I've always just gotten whatever the hell is coming towards me anyways,
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like I don't know that I've ever like known exactly what I need, and that's because like I'm just in this experience, and a lot of that stuff is like blocked from my consciousness in the first place, and that's like what makes it interesting. It's like, you know, the things that are the least obvious are going to be like the biggest problem kind of stuff, you know. And that's just because like that's how I'm set up. That's how we're set up or whatever. It's just and psychedelics can make those things more apparent. So you could come out of it and be like, hey, I'm not a douchebag anymore. Or maybe, you know, I need to be nicer to people.
Yeah, maybe you're like ignoring all your douchebag behaviors and just kind of being like, they're okay, and you're just compartmentalized so much. And then that's, in my experience with psychedelics, they kind of decompartmentalize your brain in a way that shows you like what you're hiding from yourself sometimes.
Yeah, put your face right in it. You're kind of forced to look at some things, and
and
then the danger is then just thinking like, oh yeah, okay, got it.
yeah.
What was that onion thing? It's like you can't. Yeah, to me, this whole reality thing is it's not about perfection, you know.
Yeah,
it's about just the whole thing just keeps spinning on.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like more and more as I get older, I'm not that old yet, but that like you kind of have this core personality that you're not going to get away from. And instead of looking for like enlightenment or to change, you just have experiences, integrate whatever happened, and you keep on keeping on.
Yeah, try and improve and, you know, in whatever way you can. But
what do you think do you think someone's just born a douchebag? Like, do you think they just can't help it in a certain sense?
I don't know.
Or, you know.
What is it? Like, what is it? I mean, these are just... Because sometimes I wonder, like, it might be a douchebag
it's the thing
to me,
that women used to clean their vaginas.
The theory...
Apparently, I don't know anyone who uses that. But
the theory of douchebag relativity. Like, dude, he's totally not a douchebag. What are you talking about?
So, yeah, we're going to take a call from some douchebags. Yeah, it's just like a gurgling sound. I think the worse insult is douche nozzle at this point.
Yeah, that's the next level.
Because that's where everything flows. Anyway, I don't know. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, do you think you can change your personality? You were saying that you thought that someone's kind of stuck with a personality. So is like being a douchebag a personality? Or is it...
and you can be like an awesome douchebag, I think, too.
That's the thing is I think
you can be the character that is like always calling people out on their bullshit, and like that's kind of a douchebagish kind of
but it's also useful,
you know? Right.
Yeah, so, and that might be like your role to play in the collective.
So maybe that's the... Yeah, maybe that's the golden douchebag.
But you can become like
douchebag with a heart of gold.
Yeah. I think like experiences. You know, you change subtly through experiences.
Sure.
But like at the core of you is like kind of the core of you.
Yeah.
And like to completely obliterate that and change it, like does anybody?
I don't think you really can.
I don't think. Yeah, it doesn't seem like you can, and instead you become like maybe more present and more subtle in that personality.
Yeah.
You're kind of like gonna be that person in a way.
Yeah.
You know, like however many changes I've gone through, like whenever I was in hardcore music and then, I don't know, college, then start making art, like I've always kind of been me at the core, but been doing different things.
Right.
And it brings out different aspects of myself, but I'm still kind of the same guy in a different context, you know?
Sure.
Yeah, I remember like Ram Dass saying something about his like psychoses. Like I forget what the actual quote is, but he's just saying that he just always has he's had the same psychoses for his entire life, and
and that's just
like he's just as neurotic.
Himself.
Yeah, he's just as neurotic. Or not psychoses, maybe it was a neuroses. Yeah, neuroses.
Okay. Yeah,
he's just like that's just what it is, you know.
Yeah. Maybe we just get better tools to deal with our own neuroses as we go through life.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah,
it's
or different tools even.
It's like you're if you're neurotic, you're always gonna be neurotic, but maybe you create space and like you can watch your neurosis instead of being like identifying with it, but it's still gonna be there.
Yeah, and oftentimes the thing is that like I feel like you just keep getting whatever it is, like stuff just keeps leveling up, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like, and then, you know, maybe that's more if you're like a person that's really like seeking that out, like wants challenge and wants to grow and develop throughout life or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
it may be the same neuroses, but the challenge can still, you know, you wouldn't necessarily know that it was the same problem that you had like at the beginning of that problem, that journey. And then maybe by the end of it, you're like, oh man, got me again.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
But like, there's still this like, this way I feel like that, like living a life, the challenges, you know, they might be the similar kind of challenge, but it's like a new level. It's like you just keep like,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, you got it on this level. You can handle that. It's like, okay, now try handling this. Like, can you handle that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah. I was I had an interesting conversation once while like driving across the country about like if you could go, this is like more of like a thought experiment, but the thought experiment went something like this. It's like if you could go back in time with all the experience and knowledge you have now to your same self when you were, say, in like high school and just like crush it, what would really end up happening would be just that you would be presented with the same level of challenges that you already have, and that life would find something, you know, you think you would crush it,
Mm-hmm.
but you would go back and you would start to go on this path of like, well, I know all this stuff at age 16 that I know at 34, so that gives me a 18-year advantage on people or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But really you would, I mean, this is a hypothesis, of course, no one can really know this, but my hypothesis is that life would just throw you enough curveballs, just like it always does, for you to just be stuck with, even though you know more technically, you're still in a place of like the unknown a bit.
Yeah. Probably come back and be like, you'd be too reasonable. Like you wouldn't have any friends.
Right. Yeah.
You'd be like 16.
You couldn't
and have
stand
a
them.
party. You're like, well, guys, we have school
I'm gonna hang out with my
tomorrow,
mature friends.
Yeah. Dude, South Park did everything. Dude.
Yeah, for sure. So good.
Yeah. So wait, you grew up here, right? In Colorado, that is.
Well, yeah. So my brother David and I were born in Hawaii. My father was stationed there in the Air Force.
Nice.
Dang.
And then we moved to Aurora first when I was 4, and then from there to what was Centennial, and then became Littleton, and then went to college in Fort Collins, and then been living in Boulder for the last like 6 years.
Huh. So that's why you're so chill. You've just lived in like the
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like,
chillest spots in the
how's
world.
it feel to be heady your whole life?
Yeah, it's a funny thing, huh?
Yeah, but you must have seen, you know, just so much change in the last.
Yeah, I tell you what, with the bass music thing, like I always wanted to move out to San Francisco, like when I first got into it, because that's where like all the guys that I was really like looking up to, that I was stoked on, lived.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that was the best scene, and then it's like everybody's moved to Colorado now, so it just all came to me.
Yeah, it's pretty
It's
wild.
cool. But yeah, Colorado is an amazing place, man. Definitely feel
Sure is.
super blessed to have been able to grow up here. I mean, like Hawaii's not a bummer either. So it's like,
How long were you there
We got
in
lucky.
Hawaii?
4 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
born 4 years. So I don't like. I have some like deep seated like environmental memory kind of stuff, but I don't have like a ton of specific memories there.
Totally.
Like, when I go to a beach now, it definitely like will take me back. But
Yeah.
You ever go to Hawaii?
I have, yeah, I've been back a few times. It's tight.
Yeah, Hawaii.
It's not like Burning Man. It didn't suck.
Yeah, totally, way better than Burning Man. Sorry, Burning Man.
Those are all jokes, by the way. Just for anyone just like getting their panties in a wad about Burning Man doesn't suck.
Oh no, they know what it is.
They know.
We're not actually bringing up the actual arguments for why Burning Man sucks. Telling you not to go.
Yeah.
You know, really, it's crazy. Like, it's so hard to get a ticket now too. So
Yeah.
I think we need some like insane weather crazy dust storms and stuff, get to kick off a few sparkle ponies and
Do you know what a sparkle pony is,
make
Jen?
it easier for me to get a ticket.
And for anybody who doesn't know, it's basically like someone who doesn't help out at Burning Man.
Yeah, somebody who doesn't help or like is not really contributing to the whole thing, just kind of like
Just consuming it and
yeah,
making
exactly.
Instagram posts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a nicer term than like blood sucking leech,
Yeah.
because they also probably have glitter and like a unicorn like fuzzy horn on their
Yeah.
head or something. So
Yeah.
Yeah, sparkle pony sounds cool. I kind of want to be one. That's
The thing is,
It's a cool
and the ones that
nickname.
actually know that that's what they are and they embrace it and like, you know, find some way of navigating the waters without pissing off their camp, that's like that's great. But the ones that just go there and like have no idea like what, you know, people are actually trying to make the thing be about and like, you know, just like are just draining it, not doing anything constructive or whatever. It's just kind of like
I suppose that becomes part of the meaning of Burning Man, though, right? That people like that get attracted to it and come to it.
yeah,
and
for sure.
it might have a learning experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We just need some weather though. The past 2 years have been really, really nice, like mild weather. So
Yeah.
everybody now is like, oh yeah, dust at Burning Man. Like everybody says it's so bad, but I went and it was fine. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, just come next year and we'll do a big dust storm and it'll rain and just get a little crazy. There's nuts out there, like when the, you know, like wind and
Yeah.
dust like really starts kicking up. It's like, you know, you go into survival mode.
You
and
can't see
it's
like
not- yeah, it gets a little crazy.
Did you DJ there?
Yeah. Every time I've gone, I've played some music. We, my buddies and I, friends, like we did a sound camp this year called Mountain Everest.
shout out.
That was, sort of headed by Jordan Pickles and Corey, who made the Hummingbird stage for Sonic Bloom.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea has been to burn that thing at Burning Man, but we weren't able to get the permit to burn it, so we just did the stage and didn't burn it.
Nice. I guess.
Yeah. But yeah,
What's
like Bass Nectar played, Noisia played, Tipper played.
Ooh, nice, yeah.
At Mount Everest.
None of those people actually played there. Yeah, Lauren hates Burning Man now.
Oh, I thought he was playing a secret set at the Trash Fence.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
nice.
then Daft Punk.
Daft Punk is always there every year. Daft Punk makes a surprise appearance. It never fails. It's like Dust at Burning Man, Daft Punk at Burning Man. Kind of the same thing, you know? So,
But yeah, Burning Man sucks. Like,
yeah.
whatever.
Fuck your burn. Safety third.
So,
Yeah.
what's it like touring? You know, like what's the what's that experience
Are
like?
you just drowning in chicks
Yeah.
or what?
Yeah,
Just
I mean, Andrew knows too. Andrew's
Yeah.
gone on tour with me.
I went on tour with Aaron for a
Yeah.
little bit.
He's my
It's
tour
a lot.
manager.
It's a lot like driving. It's a lot like driving all night and trading drivers, and you're like, oh, finally, like get some sleep. Just as you nod off to sleep, you know, the guy you're managing says, "Oh, we're getting pulled over," and and it's a lot like sitting on a Texas highway pretty early in the morning in January, late January, early February, and getting your car searched, only to find that since we're smart and old, we don't ride dirty, so that they have nothing on you.
Very smart.
That's
Yeah.
tour.
That totally happened.
Yeah, that's
The guy,
obviously
the cop,
a real
like,
story.
he was like,
He saw you two guys. He's like,
Well,
Yeah,
Aaron
yeah,
looks
something.
like Aryan
100%.
Jesus, and I just have this like Mad Max kind of.
Colorado plates, like,
Yeah.
my favorite part about it was the Texas cop was like, he's like, you have any guns? I was like, no. He's like, you sure you don't have any guns, man? I was like, yeah. He's like, all right, well, yeah, we got any guns? Like, you just gotta show me where the guns are at, man. And I swear, like the next thing was gonna be like, dude, I mean, you're in Texas. Like, if you want a gun, I got one in the trunk, dude. Like, come check these out. Like, you can't have any weed here, and I'm totally gonna bust you for that if you got that. But
it's like while
dude,
we search your car, if you want to come back to the trunk and check out our guns,
you can totally get a gun here.
We'll let you take one home if you don't have any weed. No, it was really funny. So, I'm in the passenger seat, and he comes around, I think, to the passenger side, and just does a little tap and roll down the window. I'm like just waking up, and he's like, just giving us the questions like, where are you guys going? And Aaron's like, yeah, I'm playing music. I'm playing music in Austin tonight. And he kind of looks around the car, and he looks at me, and he's kind of like, and what do you do? And I'm just like, I'm his manager. Meanwhile, there's like all my painting gear and prints and easel and painting in the back. And it was pretty funny because we knew that they didn't have shit on us. So we were just like,
you were free.
All right, whatever. We'll stand in this windy Texas cotton field for a second.
I think the most scary thing was just the possibility of them planting something. Though.
Yeah.
Because that was a real,
that's
like,
true.
I didn't bring anything, but like, I'm sure this cop's got something.
Yeah.
And,
well, just a heads up, if anyone's ever driving through Texas, and you haven't driven through Texas before, a lot of their smaller highways, they crank the speed limit up to like 70, 75, and then you kind of hop from small ass town to small ass town. And so as soon as you start going 70 or 75, you start getting close to another town, and the speed limit just drops exponentially every 0.2 miles or something. And that's why we got pulled over. So there's a little PSA for everybody.
Yep. Yeah, I think
drive the speed limit, folks.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Aaron.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron.
Yeah, touring life.
Yeah, so it's a lot like that.
So that's touring. You get pulled over in Texas.
Yeah, for me personally, I think like touring, it's definitely got its upsides and downsides. It's like really fun when it's an awesome show, but it's like, it takes so much time. When shows like don't go that well, that's like really soul draining. It's really, when you go like do all that work to make all the music, go to a show, and it's like nobody even cares. It's really like, feel like I like really putting myself out there, and it's just like, that can be really gut wrenching. Mm-hmm. But I haven't had one of those in a really long time. And even if there's like one person there that's like stoked, then that that makes
playing
it
for that
worth
guy.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta say, from my perspective at least, the run of shows that I was with you on, like up in the Northwest,
that was really fun.
and Austin, Texas. Yeah, it was all like friends throwing the shows, and shout out to all those crews: Olympia, Seattle, Portland.
Yeah, Danktronics.
Yeah, Danktronics. And,
so, like when you
create culture.
When you do a tour like that, do you do you book it? You like, how do you go about doing a tour?
I like am my own manager, my own booking agent.
I thought Andrew was your manager.
He was my manager. He was the tour manager.
I got fired. Oh yeah, tour manager.
Tour manager. That's a different than.
I get things confused.
Tour manager is different than manager.
Business.
Yeah. But he's also not my tour manager anymore either.
No.
Lost those privileges.
I wasn't supposed to tell the cop that I was his tour manager. So
I honestly thought that I told him that you were the tour manager, and then you're like, "Oh yeah, let's keep rolling with this."
So he thinks I'm the tour manager.
Either way,
this painting.
We were both anxious for you to be like the tour manager. To this cop.
Yeah. Well, I remember there was one point where, being a good tour manager, I was, dipping like a rice cake in some hummus and feeding you while you were driving.
Was that like pretty much what a tour manager
does? Tour manager
more or less. And then, you shake people down for money at the end of a show.
Which he didn't do once, I don't think.
No, I didn't need to because, like I said, all those cats were great. So they made my job easy.
You picked out the hot girls from the front row. Be like, you come backstage.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did.
Yeah, and like my position, it's really like like I haven't gotten super popular, and like people don't see me as like a dollar sign in general, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So generally, the people that are bringing me out for shows like actually like feel it and like want to bring me out because they like the music or whatever, and so like as far as my booking, what I do, it's just mostly people hitting me up, and then I have to organize how to get there or whatever. But
Okay.
but that's a nice position to be in because like I haven't been like screwed around with very much. Like a lot of artists when they get really big, like get a lot of promoters that don't know what they're doing, and just like
people just want to hit.
Yeah, people see you and they're like, oh yeah,
want a piece of that.
This will get money. I'm gonna get all this clout from throwing this show, and like it just turns into this whole thing where it becomes really easy to get like taken advantage of and whatnot.
Mm.
And I've seen that a lot. You know, I see it a lot, but I personally haven't had to go through much of that just because like I think my music has just been weird enough and hasn't like taken off to the point where like people really see me as that, you know, something to be exploited or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a bittersweet spot to be in, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and in hindsight, for all those years just being super frustrated about that kind of thing, it's like, well, I'm actually pretty stoked.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
Yeah.
It's like, and like you can, the thing about fame and doing big shows and stuff like that, it's like a lot of times you realize that, you know, that wasn't. I listened to a Mr. Bill podcast I thought was really good the other day, and he was talking about how he played Red Rocks and like played the show, and it was freaking awesome. But then afterwards, he was like, he like was like, well, I still have all these same problems that I had, you know, like I still feel all this like, you know, the same psychological issues I had. That didn't solve anything. So it's like, and a lot of people with anything like goal oriented, like it's really and creativity and goals in general, it's like a lot of times you hit those goals and then you realize that you didn't actually do anything that was positive for you or whatever. It's like,
yeah, it's strange.
and it was really the whole like creative process and the journey of making all that stuff that you really like. That was what was cool in the first place.
Yeah, the whole point is to make this stuff, huh? Because I've experienced the same thing, you know, like you'll go through waves and like you'll have achievements or cool things happen and you're psyched. But inevitably you come back to like, I suck.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My art's lame. I've been like stuck in that feeling. Like it's been like a month straight of just like everything I make is garbage. I suck.
Yeah.
Like the fire leaves me. And then
Right,
it's
yeah.
like maybe
You get all that serotonin drained from
Yeah.
achieving a goal or whatever, and then after it's like high and dry and like,
yeah.
You just start from square one
Crap.
again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it starts to strike you. It's like, yeah, it's just about the process
Mhm.
doing it rather than, you know, but inevitably you get caught up again in goals or wanting to, you know, be bigger.
yeah, well, and that's
like,
it's a great fire for the flame, you know,
yeah.
like having those goals and like having certain, you know, deadlines and things like that. It's great.
Mhm.
But a lot of times, like we end up putting so much expectation on something, like, you know, hitting that goal, achieving that goal, and then
Right.
it's kind of like, well, I guess I just really, my favorite part about this was creating. So
Exactly.
Or
yeah.
striving
to
to the
that.
goal even
yeah,
is maybe the whole point.
And that's weird too. Like once you hit those goals you had,
Mm-hmm.
like you were saying, you hit those goals and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm still fucked up. And
yeah.
right. You think it's gonna do something. You think it's gonna be like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, yeah, like I feel great now. Like all that stuff was like, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's all gone now. Like I, you know, headlined this thing and
yeah.
everybody loved it and everybody loves me and now I'm perfect and feel great. It's like,
It's like, nah.
said nobody ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also like if you didn't set those goals, you wouldn't have those great feelings of playing those great shows and meeting
Right.
friends and having these experiences. So there's like, you do experience these tremendous states in going for that goal, but there's no happy endpoint. And then sometimes
Well,
it
there,
can be,
yeah, but it's like the happy endpoint. A lot of times, you feel that dopamine and that serotonin, you know, when that goal is achieved. But it's the after effects of that.
It's like the hangover.
Yeah.
of
Yeah, the
achieving
hangover of that.
a goal.
Totally. And I think as you like achieve bigger and bigger goals and stuff like that, you have to figure out more and more how to kind of level things out, like psychologically, like make the run up less intense, so that after the thing, then the ebb and flow get a little bit more balanced out, like a little less intense on each of them.
Yeah, like as you have experienced those waves again and again, like achieved a goal, achieved a goal. After a while, you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Like,
it's no big. Yeah, it's not as big of a deal.
If it's fun, awesome. If it's not, okay, I'm just going to keep doing my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel yourself like in a state like that now? Like, do you still do you just not want to set goals now and just create and see what happens?
Oh, no. It's not like that. Definitely not like that. It's just, I don't know. I wouldn't say that I've even learned anything necessarily. It's just something that I've experienced. Like,
yeah. All you can really say is like
try and figure out how to like not hit the burnout kind of thing so much,
Sure.
I've definitely like maybe learned a little something about that kind of thing, but it's not like and the learning part, I guess what the learning part is just that it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yeah. There's a reason we say it like that. Like it's so silly, but it's so cliche, but it's like, yeah.
Right, and the destination's probably tight too, but just, like, and a lot of times my favorite thing is just being in the middle of writing a song, and sometimes I'll just be like, all right, like, okay, remember to enjoy this and soak this up right now, because it's like your favorite thing. So, and usually, a lot of times just like fly through it and not even take a moment to enjoy the process or whatever. Just get into like a flow state,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, where you're just gone. It's happening.
Yeah. So like, in that kind of moment, taking a second to just be like, oh yeah, thanks. Okay, this is tight. Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool. All right, back to work.
Right.
A weird metaphor I thought of, and maybe this will make sense. Like, if you're the studio, you want to keep your psychological equilibrium flat, and then whatever life throws at you is like the shit coming out of the speakers. And you're just the space in the container that happens to.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think Siddhartha said that.
Yeah, that was
the Buddha.
That was the Buddha quoting the Buddha. Maybe, or no, it was Jesus.
Oh,
yeah. All right.
One day they're gonna read about you, Andrew.
I hope not.
I mean, neither of them actually said that, but they are both in you, and they're speaking now through you.
Oh, that's right.
In this podcast, let the listeners know
that I'm a channel. I'm funneling
it.
Yeah. What else does Buddha have to say?
He wants to know what it's like being a dad, and naming your son after one of his genres of Buddhism.
Primary sects. Yeah. Like, describe being a dad. Yeah, that's like. Just I don't know that I've ever heard anybody describe it well. Personally, how could I describe it? Like, it's this feeling of love that I have not experienced before. Like, definitely, like, when like little guy laughs, like make him laugh is just like, the best dopamine hit you'll ever get.
Nice.
But also, like, it's really hard, like really tries your patience, and like it was a very like dualistic sort of experience, like really most amazing beautiful thing in certain ways and most annoying thing in other ways, but it's one of those things, is like the words are just yeah,
they're just words.
Yeah, it's
can't really so maybe you're writing a song right now about being a dad.
Fractal boy.
Yeah.
Does it change the context of your art path? Like, now that you have a son, like, does that change your relationship to reality and what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Like, I don't know that I haven't started writing music in a totally like different way or anything yet. So
gonna make a bass album for kids.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be really fun.
Mash up some Barney in there. Sesame Street.
Yeah, Lamb Chop.
Ooh, damn, Eureka's
Take it back.
Castle.
Anybody out there know Lamb Chop?
This is the song that never ends. As I go some people started singing it,
not knowing what it was.
They'll continue singing it forever
just because it's okay.
It actually
Ended.
ended.
It's actually still happening in the 5D hypercube tesseract space, but
Yeah, David Avocado Wolf, right?
yeah, he wrote that song. Pretty sure.
And he's still singing it in the Tesseract.
Oh, he's definitely singing it.
Dude, I saw he's slinging air filters now. He took the quote unquote avocado out of his name.
Why?
He's doing like sponsored ads.
Is he David Air Filter Wolf now?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I thought that was great though. I was like, yeah, all right, good thing you're advertising this to me right now.
It's like the counterpoint to Alex Jones. Same shit. He sells like water filters and air filters.
Yeah.
It's just like the heady version.
Yeah, I was gonna say these are like more. These have been attuned by crystals. These air filters
By the octave of the sun.
like literal air filters. That he just dips them in cacao. For our cacao ceremony today, I'm going to put in an air filter.
Yeah, charcoal cacao. Sick. Lamb chop. David Avocado Wolf.
It's we make fun of David Avocado Wolf, but he deserves
But really,
it.
he's our dad.
Yeah, really, he's all of our fathers. We'll edit that out or not. I don't know. We might.
Yeah, we'd like to thank our sponsor.
Yeah, avocados.
Porsche.
You ever slice an avocado open?
You can't
just,
edit that out.
and just eat it. You ever eat an avocado straight from David Wolf's mouth?
Baby bird.
He doesn't even chew it up. I mean, he's a busy guy. He doesn't really have time to chew up all that avocado and spit it in. It's half chewed up anyway. If you think about an avocado, like, I mean, if in a pinch you could swallow like half of one of those things at once.
The flat girth.
Yeah. What'd you call me? Yeah. So being a dad is weird, huh? Yeah. Do you feel
it's
more
like little,
responsible now?
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
It's like little fractal. I feel like I always have this thing like thinking about DNA and like how much the DNA does, and like just trying to wrap my mind around it in general because it's such a crazy thing. I feel like it's one of the most like amazing, awesome things like in the material world.
Sure.
That we have.
Definitely.
Like, it's such a cool thing. But like thinking about how like before, like feeling like my biological being feeling like I was the most important thing with respect to that DNA. It's not that I'm thinking about the DNA, but the DNA makes me like feel like I'm the most important thing or whatever.
Like you're having this subjective experience that you as a physical body and a psychological body kind of come first.
Yeah, and it's like a similar thing to like reproduction or whatever. It's like this thing that's just there that makes you feel like you're important and like, you got to eat to like continue on. Like,
yeah.
And it's not even this thing where it's like, oh yeah, you got to keep this DNA train continuing, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, and there's all these like, fascinating ways that it continues itself without us even really realizing that's happening or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, after having a kid, I was like, okay, now this guy, like this DNA is the most important DNA. It's like my DNA is not as important anymore. Like I've sort of fulfilled one of my purposes in life or whatever. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And now taking care of him or whatever is like an important thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like thinking about that in relation to trying to like just watch sort of these like some of these like automatic things that like that just like happen or think about or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That like as a human being programmed to do or act in certain ways. I find that fascinating.
Yeah, I'm always interested too, like somebody that's had a lot of psychedelic experiences, and don't you like turn on like parts of your gene expression?
Yeah, I was going to talk about
if
that.
that's like passed along to, like after you've had those experiences, and
Epigenetic
Yeah,
stuff.
Exactly.
if that's passed along, and like, does that give a kid sort of like
A leg
up in a way? And
Yeah, have you given him any acid yet?
Did you see the? Did you see that?
Sorry.
There was a. Did you watch that video on that's been making the rounds on Facebook?
No.
There was a dude who did as like these videos of people just like saying the most crazy stuff and like acting a fool at Burning Man, you know?
Oh, the Wook's doing things guy.
Yeah. But then
the dreads.
he asked Alex Gray, like, how do you feel about like microdosing children, like little kids? And Alex Gray's like, microdose. It's like, but no, I have not.
You're taking a macro
Nor do
dose of a kid.
Nor do
right
I
now.
plan on.
Isn't like raising a kid just macrodosing your own recycled childhood or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, if you like psychedelics, you probably like having a kid.
Yeah.
yeah,
That.
childlike wonder.
Yeah, the birth.
Get to relive it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And just like it's just such a trippy thing, man. It's such a, this, like I was saying with that, like words don't really work, and that's why I make music. It's like same thing with, having a kid. It's like the words are just really hard to describe it.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, epigenetics are crazy. Like,
yeah, there'll be all these experts here, and
yeah, none of us are experts. Yeah, thank
Let us
goodness.
tell you about epigenetics.
go do some research if you don't know what epigenetics.
Yeah,
is
it's basically inherited traits that are learned,
Mhm.
right?
Well, I mean, I think it's like changes in DNA that just happen in a lifetime, and then those can potentially be passed down.
Yeah.
So like Eskimos or something like that. Eskimos, like they got some things going on in their DNA to help them deal with the cold better, and like they can pass that down to the kids.
Yeah.
But it's not a genetic change in the DNA that happens either like as like damage or as like in reproduction, that kind of thing. Because that's usually when changes to DNA happen, or in reproduction, or if there's some kind of damage like with radiation or something like that. Or just age too. I think age will make the genetic code start getting messed
Firing
up.
off.
Like cancer makes it. I don't know what that does, but it's something about repeating. It wants to keep making the cell, making the cell over and over again. I think that's something like messed up with the DNA.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know.
Well, yeah.
You don't have to take my word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Hey, let's bring something up. You look it up.
Reading Rainbow.
Yeah, Sarah's actually taking a genetics class right now.
Oh, cool. Should have
and
her on.
You should show her this segment.
Yeah, I will. And she'll be like, "Oh, you guys got it all wrong."
D-. Cualli sucks it.
Cualli does not know his epigenetics.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
Sorry, Sarah.
Well, so from epigenetics to synthesizers.
Yeah, you got a bunch of synths in here.
Yeah.
Do you actually know how to play a synthesizer, or are you just like, this one sounds cool and like that one sounds cool, and you, like digitally compose it?
Yeah, well, I mean, so playing a synthesizer. So first of all, you got your keyboard part of it. So that's playing the music part of it,
Yeah.
And like I understand that. And then as far as everything, we're looking at a Moog Voyager here, and like I know what all the things on that do.
I'm so jealous. They seem like so much fun to play with.
Could you maybe just break down what happens when you're synthesizing sound, like the electric current to?
Yeah, well, the analog synthesizer, you're mostly going from pressing the key, which is sending MIDI data to an oscillator, and an oscillator is sending a variable electronic signal through some wires or whatever. But so it's like if 0 is nothing, then you got the electrical signal going up to a certain peak and going down. Mm-hmm. You're going back down to 0, you know?
Yeah.
And so the oscillator is able to make different waveforms, and the way that electricity is oscillating with a given waveform is going to be also how the speaker moves.
Okay.
So like with a sine wave, which is much more, it's got a nice pretty curve to it, the speaker is going to follow that same curve. So the speaker is going to be doing this more natural kind of movement, whereas like a square, which is just going on off, like all the way on, all the way off, like the speaker is going to be doing that too. So it's going to want to be all the way out and then all the way sucked in for the next like in a given phase. So like all the way out, all the way in, and sending those signals to a speaker is like what those different waveforms is what gives a sound a particular character, like a particular timbre tone to it. So like all these different waveforms make different sounds based on how they make a speaker move. But you got your oscillators and then filters mostly.
I wonder if you plugged it into me if I'd start moving around.
John's last name is Speaker, everybody. Did you catch that?
That's a good joke.
It's sick. This is what you stay for in our podcast.
This is why you guys had me on here.
Yeah.
All right, we can go.
All right, that was a good one, guys. Wrap it. No. So do you have a favorite oscillator? Do you like sine waves? Are you a triangle guy?
Sawtooth.
That's what those are called.
I feel that.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Sawtooth. So a sawtooth has all the harmonics in it. So the harmonic series is like how all natural sounds happen, more or less. Like all musical instruments follow this mathematical series where there's like a fundamental tone, which is going to be more or less what we're going to hear the note as. So the fundamental is like A 440 or whatever, 440 hertz. Then depending on the waveform, you've got different overtones on top of that, which happen in certain mathematical ways. So for instance, like a square wave is only going to have the odd overtones.
Okay.
And a sawtooth wave has all the overtones.
Okay.
So like all the...
So it's the most kind of like rich and robust sound.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Exactly. Nice. So then when you're doing subtractive synthesis, which is what the Moog Voyager is, like you're taking away stuff from it. So like with the sawtooth wave, because it's so robust, you have a lot of things to work with when you're taking things away from it.
Nice.
But yeah, if anybody who doesn't know about the harmonic series or whatever, go watch a YouTube video about that stuff, because that's like, to me, that's some of the most fascinating things, fascinating stuff about music, like how the natural world and just like goes off this harmonic series with musical stuff. Like all musical stuff is like, if it sounds musical, it's going off the harmonic series, and the world just does that without trying.
Nice.
Or maybe it is really trying, but I don't see it trying. You know?
Yeah. Feels like it's effortless.
Yeah.
From our perspective.
It's cool to have like that, an actual scientific understanding of how the sounds are created too. Do you think that gives you more control because you're actually like, you know, like you understand what the fuck is going on with why the sound is sounding the way it does?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
You can really hone in on what you're looking for.
Yeah, I would say so. And being able to, like, because even if you don't know that stuff in particular, if you're looking at a spectrum analyzer, which is something that shows you all the different harmonics of a sound, like you're going to be already like looking at that and seeing what's going on, and you know, basing your mix, like doing mixing around that and that kind of thing. But like learning about the harmonic series and like how those things actually work mathematically, I think it's like you know, what's his face, Elton John, you know, I believe he talked about the Rocket Man thing where he's a rocket man and like he don't know about the science behind it.
Oh yeah.
But
that's a lyric in that song. It's verbatim.
Man,
and I don't
thoughts about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the point of the song is like he's the Rocket Man. So my point is just that, you don't have to like, nobody needs to understand anything about music to be able to make music.
Yeah. That's how I am with art. I don't know anything, but
You just do it.
Just do it, yeah.
Yeah.
But then also, like, I find it really cool. Some artists that I know, Andrew, you know a lot more about like color theory, like compositional stuff. I feel like you actually like know things.
I mean,
Blue,
knowing
cobalt, right? You know about the cobalt.
I don't know.
Cobalt, yeah.
You and Emily nerded out on some color mixing.
Oh yeah,
I was like, I don't know.
Sure,
what you guys
sure. I mean, yeah. For me, it just helps a lot to know. And it's probably, I'm trying to, on the fly, think of an analogy in music, but like when you mix maybe two tones together,
it's
you
like
get
knowing music theory. So it's like knowing scales and chord progressions and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to know any of that to sort of like pick it up and you can just hear it. But if you actually know like music theory or whatever, then
yeah. Which is, from my point of view, it's like the more you learn and can put into practice in an effective way, I think the more avenues of expressing your particular medium open up.
Yeah.
Just as long as you don't get stuffy with it,
Right, the music guys talk about these things like with it's definitely like waves of knowing or thinking like how good you are at it, like learning. If you like you learn music there and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I got this, but then like you were actually like better before you knew it. So then it's this thing about like getting like learning how to do stuff, gaining technique, but then also forgetting those fundamental principles or whatever, so that you're not like creating just based on some construct that you got to be able to forget that stuff, and then you grow again, learn more stuff, but then you also got to be able to forget that again, get that out of the way.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not like creating out of your mind, but you sort of absorb that information, then you can intuitively create.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. They call it like the virtuosity, and with live instrumentation or whatever. Like so, like an instrumentalist ideally can just play. They're playing from their soul. They're not thinking
like, oh, this is a Mixolydian.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a Dorian scale or whatever.
Right. But they had to learn that to get to that point.
Right. What I've heard is that when you learn a new skill or technique or something, you're using nearly all of your brain that is actually turned on is engaged in learning that. And then eventually, once you get better at it, it kind of compartmentalizes into smaller and smaller parts of your brain to where it almost just becomes a muscle memory. Mm-hmm. And at that point, you're embodying what you've learned.
Yeah.
And so you can come up with it on the fly. Mm-hmm. And
makes sense.
That sounds true. So,
it's like
I'm going to repeat it on a podcast.
Like learning a kickflip. You got to fucking work hard at that shit. Yeah. And then once you got it, it's in there.
Yeah, it's just in your repertoire.
Mm-hmm. So you make music with like synthesizers, digitally, you record instruments, you record field recordings.
Oh yeah.
You just like weave a tapestry of anything that sounds cool.
Of sound.
sound.
Yep, that's the thing. I mostly I do a lot of like synthesizers, digital synthesizers. I haven't been using the analog ones as much, but yeah, also like record guitar stuff and use quite a bit of field recordings, like go out into nature, record things, and use that in the music.
What's your favorite sound you've ever gotten from nature?
So I was hiking in the Himalayas, and
this is not a joke.
I walk along this path, the golden path of enlightenment, because it's in the Himalayas. And so this part was where it's actually serious.
Wait, you're not enlightened?
There's
no comment. Maybe he is.
A little root sticking out of the path, and I could like flick it, and it kind of goes like it go like dum dum.
Yeah.
And so I use it as like an 808 kick, and I also use it as like a kalimba. You know what a kalimba is?
I love kalimba.
It's like a little wooden box with like little metal things on it.
Yeah.
It's like ding 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 ding. So yeah, that the recording of that thing, that was one of my favorite ones ever. I use that a lot.
Is there a particular song or album that people can hear that in?
There's a lot of it in Spirit of the Jungle. So like Camel has a bunch of it. Rain, I think, has a bunch of it. I think Spirit of the Jungle has a bunch of it. But like it's honestly in a lot of my tunes. If you like listen for it, you can hear it. A lot of times it sounds like an 808 kick, but it's got this like high pitched flicky kind of sound that'll go with it.
I think I know what you're talking about.
You probably do, yeah. If you heard it, you'd
be like,
definitely hear it again, yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool.
That's rad.
What were you doing in the Himalayas?
Sophia and I took this trek hike like across the Cualli Pass, it's called. And that was like a 5-day hike.
Whoa. It's awesome.
That was tight. India's crazy.
When was that?
Like 4 years ago? 3 years ago?
Nice.
Was that like, I mean, I've just started leaving the country and going places. Was India like, is that like a difficult type of trip to take? It seems so
Yeah, I think so.
Different from our life here.
It is, man. It's very different. It's very, it's like so many people, and, you know, the poverty is super intense, and it's just like a very, you know, super really different than being in the States. Like coming back to the States, like everything looks so like shiny, and, you know, it's like everything's polished. And then we were there too, like the pollution was super bad. Like the pollution in New Delhi was worse than in Beijing at that point. I know Beijing's kind of cleaned up their act a little bit recently too, but like even just in the airport, like looking across the airport, like you see the pollution like hitting the building.
Whoa.
Ew.
It's insane.
Holy shit. Did you know anybody that lived there, or you just went for it?
Yeah, I didn't know anybody that lived there. Sophia had been there before for like yoga teacher trainings.
Okay.
So she was kind of familiar. But yeah, it's a really amazing place. Like, yeah, all the different history and architecture and stuff there, the food there was amazing.
Do you feel like traveling informs just how you live, and maybe even what kind of art and creative expression you have?
Yeah, I mean, how could it not? You know, it's really like definitely, yeah. It opens you up to lots of different things. You know, really like you can gain so much inspiration from meeting people that are not, you know, just from your circle, and come from different traditions of artistic expression, and yeah, I think it's the best, really, as far as like gaining inspiration and gaining perspective and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I noticed even living here, it's like, it's such a wonderful place to live, so many wonderful people, but eventually you just have to leave everything you know and just get a hit of something different.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
like,
the Boulder bubble is like particularly homogenous, and
it's called a bubble.
Bland.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But the scenery here, like the nature and everything, is absolutely gorgeous. That's honestly my favorite part about traveling, I think, is like seeing different nature, different places, like seeing different climates and different mountains and rivers and oceans and plants and animals, and that's my favorite.
Yeah. So yeah, you just went to Italy, John. I mean,
yeah,
how's
saw
that?
the old Vatican.
Crazy, man. Took a tour of the Vatican. Have you ever been there?
No, I haven't been to Europe at all. Yeah,
Really?
Dude, the Vatican is just overwhelming creativity. Like the architecture, the structures, the paintings. Like it's so over the top. It's unbelievable. Like as soon as you think you're getting exhausted, you walk into the next room and you're just like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like
Literally.
Yeah.
You saw Andrew there, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a callback. Nice callback.
But yeah, I think it's cool. Like, going to see, like I'm sure you saw in India too, just seeing like old architecture and expert artwork that is just so humbling. It's so beyond your own skill level and understanding, and just the humbleness that it creates, the feeling of insignificance in a good way, and it kind of like it makes you want to step your shit up.
Totally.
Well, I mean, the Vatican, the Catholic Church definitely wants you to feel like a pleb too.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is
They
that.
want you to know that
They want you to feel
you're
small.
not worthy, like unless you pay up, but still,
Yeah.
nah.
But still, no.
But unless
No.
you pay up, but nah.
Maybe if you pay up this time. Just kidding.
Is that is Italy where the Sistine Chapel is at?
Yeah.
Did you
I
get to
saw
go
this
see that one too?
I saw it. Yeah, we took like the first tour in the morning, so we went in there and there was almost nobody in there.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
Just like, I mean, seeing those original paintings by Michelangelo that
Yeah.
everybody's seen forever, like some of the most famous paintings, God touching
the
Adam,
finger,
and,
yeah.
like, standing directly under that
Yeah,
is just like, whoa,
that's so
just-
cool.
It's just so perfect too. And do you know that the Sistine Chapel was like Michelangelo's first painting?
No,
He worked on it for about 40 years.
Not bad.
And they were
not
si-
bad.
yeah,
Not bad.
yeah,
Pretty
they were
good.
si-
Pretty good start.
How did he get the job?
Does he have an Instagram?
So he was like a great yeah, he was a great sculptor, and then I guess whatever pope was around at the time wanted him to paint the Sistine Chapel, and he was like, I don't want to paint, dude. That's like low shit, man. I'm a fucking sculptor.
Yeah,
Like he thought painting was lame.
Yeah.
Like not as revered as being a sculptor. But then I don't know.
they dropped enough loot on him to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was interesting too, looking at that, like back in the day, the best artists, they would kind of, they didn't have to like have an Instagram and a website and make shit. Like homies with butt fuck tons of money said, you're going to work on this painting for 40 years.
Well, you know
You have
what's
a place to stay.
You know what's funny though is like back then it was like they had to paint Jesus and make sculptures of Mary and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which was like a really specific group had all the money.
Mhm.
Whereas like now, like the music thing and art is much more democratic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like people will be looking, people are looking at like social analytics and like trying to figure out like what's the most popular kind of music. So then, people start like leaning into that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So it's not like anybody's forcing you to do that, but still in a lot of ways to like make money, people are still like gearing their art towards this other thing, so it's like almost like somebody else is commissioning this
Mhm.
Yeah.
telling you what to do, but without it being like a direct thing.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
like some weird IntelliKey like group mind thing.
Yeah,
Where people
which I
are
think
like,
is more ideal
I like
than
this.
one person or
Sure.
one group doing it, but it's still
Yeah.
Still
it's
the same
interesting.
principle.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe.
interesting. I don't know if it's better or worse because artists of that time, like everything was so well done, like so expertly done. And we're all kind of just pointing towards Jesus or God or whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't know, like we're still doing the same thing and like, but with more freedom, I guess. Yeah. It's more up to the artist, like what we're creating. But there's something about the grandness of the amount of money poured into art of that time
Mm-hmm.
and the training of the artists that I find very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and something that it'd be cool if we could kind of like get some of that back a little bit in a way, but not
Yeah, well, you
fully
need-
like recreate
The thing
it.
is, though, is it's like back then it was way easier to get like a little kid to just do exactly what you told him to do and like
Yeah.
Yeah.
make him like force him to like do all of these technique practices and stuff, and like now kids go to school, learn a whole bunch of different things, a wide variety of things, and like, but in general just want to play.
Yeah.
And so that whole like super focused apprenticeship kind of thing, I don't know that that'll ever happen again.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless the kid is just really like
into it.
like, mom and dad, like, I need to paint, like, and mom and dad are like, all right, yeah, check out, you go learn with this dude. And
yeah, I'm wondering if that's what we're kind of doing right now, is rebuilding something like that, like making artwork legitimate again in a new way. And then
I think it's always been legitimate.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it seems like there's been an explosion of a movement of creativity. I think there's probably more artists now than there ever has been.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say so. I mean,
yeah. So,
well, it's also, you were talking about the democratization of it. You know, with like back then, I think they only took like the very best painters, and those are the only works you see.
Yeah.
And now we've kind of digitally recorded everyone's.
Yeah, there's just like a
creations.
throw up of art now. It's like every skill level.
When you think about the cost to even make a painting, it's like to have the you buy the actual paints and
like back then it was so much more expensive.
Yeah, just even get over that first curve or whatever is really same thing with the music. It's like, how are you gonna pay for a quartet to do this? Like much less an orchestra, full orchestra, or something like that.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to create now. And you don't have to be the absolute best to just kind of live on it or live off of it, live off of your creativity. Yeah, that's an interesting thing it brought up in my head. Like, I think I value, you know, there's a spectrum of like pure creativity and then technical skill.
Yeah.
And I think I value creativity a little bit more. Just because it's like it's reaching closer to the source, maybe. But
source is pretty technically perfect though too.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say like when, but you can also get closer to the source through, like we were talking about earlier, technicality and learning new skills. I think brings you closer to maybe pure is not the right word, but a more complete expression of what it is we're all kind of like vibrating with.
So I suppose like
harmonically,
the master lives somewhere placed delicately in between creative intuition and
technical skill.
Yeah, that's like, it's funny how we all have like, if you're really technically, like, if you're just creating out of pure love for creation and you technically kind of suck, there's like some drills you can do to get your technique better.
Yeah.
I wonder if you're like very technically gifted, but your ideas are lame. And like, I suppose you could train in ways to open that aspect of you up.
Travel more, get out in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Find a boyfriend or girlfriend, you know, like they're, you know, have a kid.
Do you ever find like yourself on your personal paths coming to a point where you realize either I'm kind of like falling away from that pure creative, just intuitive source, or sometimes it's like, man, my skills are like kind of shitty. Like
both.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I mean, that's any artist who's like doing a bunch of it that has any sort of self-reflection is definitely going to be going through that kind of thing, I think.
Like for me, it's a lot of time at like the end of a paint or getting close to the end of a painting, it becomes a little bit less fun. So I think I'm a little bit more removed from the creativity. And at the end of the painting, I'm really, I tend to judge it a little harder than at the beginning because I've spent however much time on it. So yeah, that's kind of where I find myself doing both those things. I gotta pee really bad.
Yeah, I need to go feed my my mountain lion, so We should probably just call it here.
Yeah, it's cool. Okay. Would you want to finish it with, speaking of the mountain lion, you have one on your property. Can we hear the recording of it? And just
Yeah,
hold the mic up
totally.
to it. So Aaron recorded this mountain lion in his yard doing what? Is it like a mating call or something?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, I heard this thing for the first time last year, and like I was in my studio and heard some crazy sound, and I was like, went outside and I was like, this sounds like a dying animal or something. I was like, maybe it's a mountain lion though. So I went inside and like Googled like, what does a mountain lion sound like or something like that, and I was like, oh, that's what that is. And like I hear it like just up on the hill over there. I was like, that's kind of scary.
Right on. All right, so we'll leave you with this.
I promise that it wasn't just Andrew.
What'd you say? That wasn't just me.
It was actually a recording of Andrew on mushrooms last weekend running around the woods. But anyway, yeah.
What's the weirdest sound you've ever made with your voice? I'm just kidding. So I guess we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, Aaron. That was
Yeah,
great.
man. Thank you.
We could keep it concise. If you've made it, if you've made it this far, like,
Oh, they have.
God bless you.
God
Yeah.
bless you.
God bless America.
And so you can find Aaron's music, Bandcamp,
MySpace.
MySpace, yeah, and LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's Cualli, and like
Cualli.
so all over the.
It's
wherever you
pronounced
listen to music.
Cualli.
And you can get your CDs at Sam Goody.
Yeah,
Sam Goody. Wow.
throwback. Yeah, so
Haven't heard that in forever.
bandcamp.com/Cualli, Cuall. Cualli. Cualli.
Yeah. Bandcamp, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you listen to music, it's on there. iTunes.
Cool. Dig it. Thanks for listening, guys.
Yep. Ciao, ciao.
Peace. We love you. Love you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of ArtsyAF podcast.
For additional images and notes on this episode, you can check out our website, artsyafpodcast.com.
And you can find me, Andrew Norris, at andrew.norris.arts on Instagram, and andrewnorrisarts.com is my website.
And you can find me, John Speaker. My website is johnspeaker.com. On Instagram, I'm at John Speaker, and on Facebook, John Speaker Art.
And we want to give a special thanks to Blair Speaker, John's lovely wife and creative director of the podcast. She also updates the website and does all the podcast notes. So thank you, Blair.
And we'd also like to thank Tyler Billman. He created the music for this podcast. You can find Tyler on SoundCloud and Instagram. His name is Get Billsman. That's GetBillsman.
Thanks again for listening. Peace.
Thank you.